We are back here on Entrepreneur Nation on KC 80.9 FM. Got my boy, Taylor Cole. What up, man?
Yeah, buddy.
Taylor is an interesting cat. I gotta tell you, I meet a lot of people who are, whether it's first or second time entrepreneurs, but you don't meet people who serve our country, have a insane role. Literally, we'll talk about that. Have this action sports freak of nature side. I mean that with love. And then create a product that is helping our future. I get such an excitement when I hear people doing things for kids.
Yeah,
for sure. You know what I love about kids is that, like, you could be conservative, you could be more left-sided, right-sided, you could be communist, you could be socialist, you can be capitalist, you could be whatever religion, atheist, satanic, whatever it is. We all want to help kids.
That's right.
Right? So it's like you have the most neutral, friendly conversation that I can have when dealing with entrepreneurship. Because when I talk with entrepreneurs, there's some things that could be biased, or they could be one-sided, or they can offend some. Like if you were like doing a political app, even if you're saying I'm going to help voter turnout, there's often a slant.
That's right.
Or if you're doing a media company, it's like, hey, I'm here to help people understand how to do cooking, but it's like we have a certain way of talking about cooking. It's like meat eating versus not eating, as an example, you know?
Yeah, that's right.
So, Taylor, tell us, what do you do right now outside of this business? Because I kind of understand it, but I want people to know, what is your role right now outside of the product? And we'll talk about that.
I've been a 15-year bureaucrat straight out of college, and just continuously challenged myself and found my way to be a chief technology officer of one of the 10 Navy labs. And in that job, we're 1,700 engineers on a base, and then I run the research and development, the outward development that we have with schools, and a lot of the work that we do to get really early on education and research stuff done.
Wow.
I run the intern program and a couple other things. So it's very bureaucratic. It's a very constrained form of creativity, and I love it. But it needs a balance, and so that's where Taylor Cole, the entrepreneur, comes in.
Okay, so what experience did you deal serving our? And are you an official naval officer?
Nope.
Okay, so you are. What would you call yourself then?
I'm on the civilian side. There was a '90s term called total force, which looked at the reserves, the active duty, and the civilians that make up the military. It hasn't been used for a long time, but obviously we're all in the same oath system, and we're all in the same system.
So are you similar to the female interest of Tom Cruise, but you're a male version?
Exactly.
Okay, that's cool. Top Gun was one of my favorite movies. You notice how I said that? I have to admit, I was like, wow, I didn't offend you.
I like
at all.
that. That gave me a lot of visions.
Because Top Gun is like one of the best movies.
It was.
And okay, cool. That is dope. So, walk us through the inspiration. I want to know the moment that you realized that I need to create this product.
Yeah, absolutely. I had the joy of being on the Navy's highest think tank that worked directly for the Chief of Naval Operations. And it used to be more or less secret that who was on it and what happened. It got shut down a couple years ago, so all of us came out of the woodworks, and now we can talk about that this thing even existed.
It was a confidential thing.
It was just, it was at the Naval War College, and it was just a controlled think tank that brought in the top Navy leaders, actually from all 5 services.
Are you allowed to talk about what you talked about?
Yeah, and then smashed them together with civilians. So I brought in Larry Harvey, the guy that started Burning Man. I brought in chief learning officers from some of the biggest companies there was. I brought in the #1 expert on cryptozoology, which is
what is cryptozoology?
That's the study of things that you can't prove exist or not. So that'd be like a Baba and a Mole snowman. And then what made it an interesting conversation was putting the cryptozoology expert right next to the #1 skeptic that believed in Occam's razor and this idea that the most obvious answer is the obvious answer. So the two of them argued, and they wrote books against each other. But bringing them in one room together with all these military leaders allowed us to understand what thinking out of the box was like, and how different perception drives your reality in a lot of ways. It fundamentally changed me coming out of that think tank. And when I came back home, I realized that what we are doing with 2 kids with technology is absolutely going the wrong direction. So I set out to try to figure out a way to get out of VR, out of AR. I think in a lot of ways those are dead-end technologies, because they are always going to exist in somebody else's designed world. And we do not do well in other people's worlds. So what I set out to do is saying, how do we write a story to where you're in the kid's brain the entire time, understanding that a kid needs some constraint in terms of the story, otherwise they're going to go all over the place. So we use lights and sounds in conjunction with a well-written story that uses minimally defined immersive technology, something we've patented, that allows us to tell a story that leaves all the details out, but still stimulates the brain in ways that lights do, sounds do, and the spoken word from your parent. So it's very, very embracing of a child's creativity, and the child, we've tested this all over the place. It's just fascinating what they come up with.
Like what?
Why say a red dragon's coming out of the green trees and about to attack the forest? About to attack the town, when you could say a linotar is coming from over there and create the sounds of nothing anybody's ever heard before. Create the anticipation, the feelings, the emotions that no one's ever heard before, but drives your creativity, and now all of a sudden every kid's imagining something different. How do we design a capability that does that? So our prototypes, we've got 15 of these, do just that. And they're just that. They're a minimally viable product prototype. And so that's what the Kickstarter is for, is to get us to the point where we can redesign this with the right amount of money and get it out, and we can do wonders in 3 different worlds, where we're talking education, therapy, and neurodevelopmental. And the neurodevelopmental one was just fascinating to me because this year I found out I have audio processing disorder. I was tested by the director of Loma Linda's neuropsychology department. I have it a lot, and it's been fascinating to learn about myself, because he told me in that meeting, after all this testing, I can't believe you passed kindergarten. But not only did I pass kindergarten, I got a fluid mechanics master's degree. I became a CTO of a Navy lab, and I'm an entrepreneur. So somehow my deficiency as a child became my superpower as an adult, because my parents never let me know that I had any sort of limitation. And so now I still talk to this doctor because he's amazed on what can happen if we take things that would normally set us apart and we run with them. So any sort of difference that we find in children, we need to exploit in a way that it brings their creativity out in the way that they've got horsepower.
Wow.
So there's so much possibility in this, and I think my company's just barely touching the surface.
Well, first off, thank you for sharing that part of your childhood. And you have amazing parents, by the way.
Yes, they are.
Because
they're wonderful.
I'm not a parent yet, but I would teach my kids, because I will have kids one day, that you can do everything. And I'm not foo-foo like, oh, if you want to be this, I'm like, no, you can do anything. That's simple. Whatever you want to do, you can do. And don't let anyone tell you to hold you back. If you think you're held back, acknowledge it and find a solution, but don't let others tell you that. If that makes sense.
That makes so much sense. That's why your question was great, because if you're in the bureaucracy, you're constrained, you got rules, right? But you can be creative within constraint. And the more adult you become, the more you need constraint to be creative. The exercise of here's a bunch of popsicle sticks and some spaghetti noodles and a marshmallow. How high can you get it? It's a training exercise that you do to show parents that they can be creative, or adults, and that works. But a kid doesn't need that. You just tell a kid, be creative.
Wow.
And they could just do anything they want. So the parent tends to be the thing that kind of forces boundaries. And although you need lots of boundaries with kids, there's certain things that you don't need to bound, that we tend to put those boundaries on kids. Story is the thing that I'm focusing on.
Okay.
So it's an adult story that's being professed to a kid in a way that it is their version of creativity, and that kid either accepts it or not.
Okay. Respect. I want to jump into your hobby side before we go into your product further, because we didn't mention that in detail. How did you get involved with the action sports side of yourself? We were talking offline. I know you were talking to Peter about it, a fellow action sport junkie in his own way, and he was talking about a jump that he did too.
Yep.
Talk to us about that.
Yeah, I think I learned the earliest form of grit by breaking myself. As a pro skater in high school and going into college, I found skydiving thinking that it would be a way to relax my body after a lot of broken bones. Got kind of bored with skydiving, got into base jumping, and never looked back. 15 years base jumping. I've jumped in almost every country that I can imagine. I went to China 3 years ago, jumped off the glass bridges for the World Base Jumping Championships. That was amazing. Ended up getting a weird itch on the bottom of my foot from landing in the Yangtze River in central China. My doctor said he hasn't seen that since Vietnam. So it just kind of gives you the ideas of the kind of adventures that are out there, the kind of worlds you could run into.
What's your favorite place you base jump? Or top 3? I know it's probably so many.
China's in there. Jumping Mexico off a 130-foot crane into a stadium for the Monster Energy Supercross was pretty amazing. I've jumped off the Kuala Lumpur Tower, Petronas. Those have been great. All throughout Italy, Switzerland. Just got to travel the world. I was early on in wingsuiting, flying wingsuits, and then now I'm a member of the U.S. parachute team, and we got 3rd in the world in Australia this year. So I got back into skydiving, got into the competition side, and it is just wonderful. So it's fun to be like what Malcolm Gladwell says, 10,000 hours practiced in something. So I can fly a parachute. It feels like I am just myself. Like I don't think about anything I'm doing to fly a parachute.
I'm the same way with radio.
It happens.
Like offline we were talking about the radio interview flow.
Yes.
The reason why I said I got it is because I've done this.
Yep.
Probably the one thing I've done more than any other vocation is communication, like specifically interviewing. So that's why I was like, I got it. I don't care who you are. I don't care what it's about. I don't care if it's like about astrophysics. I'll make sure you have the most engaging conversation.
That's right.
So it's like
everybody's got to look up Stephen Kotler's book on flow.
Yes, I love that
just
book.
that, and it's very powerful.
Okay. Let's end this remainder conversation on your product. So why did you decide to do a Kickstarter campaign, and tell us about it?
Yeah, so the product we've got, I do all the sewing on it, and we've got LEDs and speakers sewn into a tent. And then we wrote all the programming and made what we call the brain, to where now you get a book in the mail, you take that book into the tent, and the tent knows the book's there. You start reading the book, and the tent will make up the details we leave out of the written word.
So rad.
So, and we use experts in lighting and sound and theater producing to work with the authors, and it is a co-creation process where we write the stories together with those three entities so that nobody's duplicating any sort of descriptive word or descriptive effect, to where the entire story is minimally defined immersive. And that is fully immersive, but with all the details at the minimum. And then what that allows for is for parents and kids to experience together nightly this form of storytelling that makes your brain wake up, that gives your brain a heightened creativity. We've got 6 of these going up to our neurodevelopmental center up in Seattle, and we're going to be doing full-fledged efficacy testing in neuro, in education, and in therapy. And we've already got some pre results from that, and this is going to be exciting. Like, we know we're onto something, and what we need Kickstarter to do is come support us. We are stalled, and we're looking to hit our point that we need to. And again, we are not selling the prototypes we've got. We're trying to get enough money to raise the real manufacturable capability that's going to really shock the world on what we could do with technology.
I'm assuming your kids have used this prototype or developed.
Oh, yeah.
Tell us about those experiences.
It's wonderful. We've got environments in them, and we've got stories. So if I put on an environment and the kids are in there, they'll fall asleep in it. I could put it on an environment where it's an ocean environment, and it's just theater lighting. It's not actually showing them anything, and the sounds are wonderful. We just recently did The Wizard of Oz, where we did an entire chapter where they put the glasses on and they go out into Oz and everything gets bright. And when we added lights and sounds, the kids have heard that story 20 times because it changes what the words actually say. It gives you the ability to imagine how heavy these glasses were, how strong the lock was that held them together. And the kids love it. I mean, it's just, if we could do this on a mass scale, I have the team to do the content creation. We just need to get what we call AvA, our product, built.
Where'd that name come from?
AvA is just we look for words that sound amazing but mean something.
It sounds like a cousin of Alexa, which I love, by the way.
Yeah, it sort of does. And the company's burble, and that to me means a lot because burble's just fun to say. But a burble is the air that's disturbed behind a flowing wing. So it's a fluid dynamics.
Of course, someone
term.
like you would
it's
come up with that.
Skydiving, but it
Jeez.
sounds amazing.
Oh
it's like
God.
burble.
That is a unique name.
So burble creativity. And then you can check us out at burblecreativity.com, or you can go to dragonsarelame.com. And the only reason
dragons are lame.
So dragonsarelame.com. A dragon is the oldest character in story and probably one of the greatest stories that's ever been written. But why not reinvent it? So every time we think of a dragon,
Yeah, why can't dragons be cool?
why can't they be cool? Why can't they be half robot, half dragon?
Or why is it only breathing fire? Why can't it spew out
Exactly.
whatever it is?
Exactly.
Why
And
can't they
kids
spew
will
out
come up with
Skittles? Like, why can't they spew out Skittles? You see these commercials of
I'm
Skittles
telling you.
falling out of oil pipes, and I'm like, wait, why can't dragons do that? When you say that, I'm like, hey, if they could do it off oil pipes, according to
That's
TV...
right. Dragonsarelame.com.
Man, this is a great conversation. Well, brother, I wish you the best. I'm so glad you were able to come in here, and wish you the best for the campaign. And Gene Swank, if you're hearing, thanks for connecting us. And yeah, we're going to take a quick break, and then when we get back, we're going to bring in Peter Belden with the Board Club, and we're going to continue the jam. Entrepreneur Nation on KUSA 80.9 FM.